ADV motorcycles have become quite popular because they are meant to take you to unexplored territory. And in that sense, the bike that has made this segment quite popular in India has been the Royal Enfield Himalayan. And especially with this new generation, it's unlocking a whole lot more potential. But when we look at global markets, especially Europe, the bike that is taking them more to all of these places has been the Honda CB500X. And then Honda sort of updated it along the way and brought this NX500, which has got a fair few updates in terms of suspension and capability wise. But Arun, do you think that this is a fair fight? Because Honda's priced the NX500 at 6 lakh rupees, which is nearly double the price of the Himalayan.
Okay, Jan, let's take the pricing out of there first and foremost. Yes, the Himalayan is almost half the price of this motorcycle, but we also did a comparo last month, which was between the MT-03 and the KTM 392. And today also we're going to focus on the motorcycle, their real world performance, how they're doing in our Indian conditions. And I think in that sense, this might be slightly closer.
Yeah, and today's focus is intended towards the touring aspect, clearly because they are meant to go places, not really off-roading, right?
I mean, come on, like 80 to 90% of the owners who buy these motorcycles hardly go off-road riding. Their main focus is mile-munching touring. And in that sense, in today's video, we'll be focusing on the real-world performance in the city with an angle of touring.
So Arun, clearly let's start with the performance aspect of it because that is where you go for such motorcycles. Now on paper, that's a single 452cc, this is a twin 471cc. This is making quite a lot more power, almost 7 bhp more and around 4.5 Newton meters more.
Yeah.
But when you're out on the road, the difference isn't apparent, right? In fact, the Himalayan feels the more eager, alive, peppier motorcycle.
I think it's down to the way it delivers its torque. The low-end torque, the mid-range torque of this motorcycle is really good. So in terms of acceleration, it just feels so much gruntier and just feels like it is a much quicker motorcycle. I think even in terms of top speed, the Himalayan has the edge.
Yeah, because when you're out on the highway, keeping it at higher speeds like 120 and you roll on the throttle, this takes its fair few time to go 130, 140. Whereas on the Himalayan, it's just a twist and you're 150 and you're reaching some seriously fast speeds.
Yeah. And one more thing, the Himalayan is much more stable at those higher speeds. Around 120, 130 kph, and once you cross that limit, the Honda feels slightly a bit nervous and twitchy, while the long wheelbase of the Himalayan means that it just feels so much settled. Now that is something I didn't expect with the Honda because somehow it just feels a bit nervous, don't you think?
Yeah, but when you slow down the speeds and you bring it to say sane limits between 90 and 110, that is where the Honda's charm comes across, right? It's that twin characteristic which is very refined, ultra smooth, all that makes it such a joy, whereas there is where the Himalayan's biggest problem lies.
I think that's the problem area for the Himalayan, which is between 100 to 120, 125 kph. It just feels buzzy, while the twin on the Honda just feels so much relaxed. You are cruising very easily on the Honda, you can sustain those speeds. Yes, you can do those speeds on the Himalayan. It just feels somehow a bit unrattled on that speed. But once you cross 130 kph on the Himalayan, again it goes into a very refined zone. Otherwise, you have to cruise between 90 to 100 on the Himalayan, while you can do easily 100 to 120 kph on the Honda. So in terms of the touring speed, I think the Honda does it better. That extra cylinder definitely helps.
Yeah, and when you mention that above 130 it is smooth, but Indian roads, you don't have that kind of luxury, right?
Exactly.
Maybe you could do it in Europe or America, but over here, keeping it below 120, 110 is the safe space. And in that sense, when you want to make quick overtakes on the highway, there you can roll on and go. This requires a downshift.
Yes.
But the gearbox, the clutch on this is absolute makhan.
That is proper Japanese engineering over there. The gear shift, they are so nice, so crisp. The clutch action is so light. It's not a bad gearbox on the Himalayan, but it just feels a bit clunky, clanky in comparison to the Honda. It just feels so much sophisticated, smooth and nice.
Over the course of the shoot duration, we rode the Honda NX500 for over 350 kilometers. And despite riding it hard and fast for most stretches, the twin-cylinder mill returned a handsome 25.28 kmpl. In our experience with the Himalayan, the Sherpa engine manages to give anywhere between 27 and 30 kmpl if ridden sanely, and around 25 kmpl if ridden continuously at speeds above 120 km per hour. Hence, both motorcycles would serve you well on long rides with fuel stops being similarly placed. The Honda does sound nicer though, especially when you're setting off. Here, listen to it. The Sherpa doesn't sound bad, but this just can't match the twin.
But when you're sustaining certain speeds on the highway, again, this feels a better aero protection around you because the taller windshield and the more prominent bodywork diverts the air around the rider. Whereas there, the windshield is very small, there is absolutely no bodywork, and there is a lot of wind noise heard.
Exactly, on the Himalayan it just feels much more ratty in that sense because the wind is hitting you. There's a lot of wind noise in your helmet as well. On the Honda, it just feels much more relaxed, much more calming. So in terms of touring, the engine performance, also the way it helps you with the wind protection, the NX500 feels like a better tourer. From touring, let's talk about ergonomics, and in that sense, both these motorcycles are very comfortable, very upright riding posture, but I think the Honda has the edge when it comes to the riding triangle.
Why? I feel the Himalayan is better in that sense.
Because it has a nice tall handlebar, the fuel tank shape is better. The way you sit on the motorcycle, you get a nice commanding view of the road. On the Himalayan, I feel the handlebars is a bit curved back. It doesn't feel that good on the Himalayan.
So my issue with the Himalayan is the profile of the seat, or rather the shape, because it is sloping downwards, right? I don't have other problem that way, especially now with the taller seat in the 845 position. In fact, the wider handlebar on the Himalayan gives me more leverage, so I can easily flit through. And in that sense, this is quite narrow, so you're a little restricted. More so, I am in better control because I'm sitting on the bike, right? I get a better sense of the operation and stuff. Because on this bike, you're sitting in the bike and you're not quite comfortable.
But when you're touring, you want to be in the bike, not on the bike, because you have to cover long distances.
You can cover long distance on that also. That's not an issue.
Yeah, we can. We have done a long distance on this motorcycle. It is not a bad motorcycle in that sense.
Almost 6,000 kilometers crossed.
Yeah, exactly. So in terms of ergonomics, it's a bit of a difficulty over here because we both are equally tall. Jehan has his own preference, I have my preference. But one thing for sure is the Honda is much lighter, and it's so much easier to park this motorcycle, push it around, which is not the case with the Himalayan.
Lifting it off the side stand, putting it on the main stand is a task on the Himalayan.
When you get on the
not only of the weight, but also its length.
Yeah,
right?
The long wheelbase.
Thankfully, the length helps because the seating space for the pillion is quite spacious. Even over here, it is pretty spacious. There are luggage racks on both, so mounting luggage as such also is fairly easy and comfortable that way.
Exactly, both the motorcycles are pretty good for pillion riders, but because the Himalayan has the split seat, so there is a lot of space for the pillion rider, and you can go touring on both the bikes, but I think the Himalayan will be better slightly for the pillion rider.
Yeah, our partners are very happy with that. But you know, ergonomically, there is another challenge with both bike face, right? That is the switches. And Himalayan, you've been riding it a lot. Say,
I'm not a big fan of the rotary switch gear on the Himalayan, takes time getting used to. But the fact is that the Honda is even worse because of the way they position the horn, the indicators, and even the switch cube on the Honda takes some time getting used to it. The Himalayan switch cube is not the best unit out there, but among the two, I think the Himalayan is better. I don't know why Honda had to do all that jazz.
Yeah, in fact, on the way to the shoot location, I nearly ran into a couple of cars, oncoming cars especially, because I was trying to find the horn button, but all I could find was the indicator. So unnecessarily, I was showing them the turn right indicator switch, whereas I wanted to press the horn. So yeah, that was an issue. But let's keep that aside. What is really going to seal the deal when it comes to the better tourer is the hardware setup and especially the suspension, the Himalayan.
Let's check out.
See, I know Hondas make some great motorcycles, some very comfy motorcycles with competent suspension.
It has got a big update, the NX500 compared to the CB, because the CB had a telescopic fork, it has a single disc. This has a proper upside down fork, twin disc. So on the hardware front, there are a lot of changes on the NX.
But then even Himalayan has got the similar updates, and you look at that suspension, the finesse of it is just mind blowing. Like, I don't think so any other ADV in this segment or even say a segment above has the finesse and sophistication levels of the Himalayan, right?
Exactly, the Himalayan offers you like a magic carpet ride quality, like all the undulations of the road just disappear, while on the Honda I could feel them. I think the suspension on the Honda is too soft, and that's why it's offering you that wavy
Plus
and
rebound.
yeah, exactly, because of that. And it's a bit of a wavy and a bouncy kind of a ride quality, something I didn't expect, especially at the rear. While the Himalayan, it just flattens out everything.
In fact, when we were giving the rough road shots of these bikes, my DOPs are telling me, Jayan, go over the potholes, no? Whereas I was forcing the bike to go over the potholes on the Himalayan. And then when I did the same on the Honda, they saw that the Honda is working quite a moment.
Moving around the motorcycle.
So yeah, and you know, this level of flatness and calmness to the suspension helps when you're heading into the twisty sections on your tours, right?
Yeah.
Because that remains ultra solid, ultra attacking as well.
Yeah. So this is where theory versus logic comes into the perspective, because longer wheelbase, heavier bike, larger front wheel. Honda should be better in the corners, but that's not the case. It just feels a bit twitchy when you're cornering hard, because if there are any undulations on the road, it just feels nervous. Second, I think is the main reason is the tires. Again, it has Dunlop tires, this has the Desi C8 tires. You expect the Dunlop tires to be offering you better grip, better edge grip and more cornering speed. But then again, C8 wins.
That's not, yeah, again, and those are not really the best tires as well, right?
Exactly.
In fact, the rear tire is quite a lot heavy. Also, we found out like around 8-9 kilos.
Yeah.
So in case if you have a Himalayan and you want to spec it out with something else, try looking at other options. In that sense, I would still say that because it has alloys, your tours will be a little bit more convenient, because we've heard a lot of our media friends and a lot of Himalayan owners complaining about how difficult it is to fix the punctures on that. Like taking an hour and a half just to remove the wheel, and then puncture wala is even refusing to fix it.
Again, the availability of spare parts in terms of the tube is also a big concern for the Himalayan. You're not getting the tubes easily. First, if you go to a puncture wala, you have to first go to a mechanic, get the tires out, then the puncture wala fixes that. Then again, you have to go to the mechanic to fix the tire back, and that's a long process. Royal Enfield had promised us that they will be launching the tubeless spoke wheels soon, but as of now, there is no news of that. So yes, alloy wheels has that benefit. You can easily fix the puncture, and that gives you a lot of peace of mind when you're out touring.
Okay. Let's just come back to the riding aspect of the two bikes. And okay, riding these two bikes primarily while on the highway, but also a little bit in the city, the Himalayan just went easier to ride as well, right?
Again, I would like to disagree, Jehan, because the Honda has a tighter wheelbase. It just feels much more agile when you're going through the city. The Himalayan is not that bad, but you just feel the bit of a weight. Because of the longer handlebar, you have better leverage over there, as you mentioned before. But if you want to go through the city, I think slightly the NX has the edge. Also, lighter clutch. So when you're going through crawling traffic, the Honda is better, yeah.
But it feels a little lethargic in that sense. That will just zip through very quickly.
But also this has a the low-end performance of the Himalayan is not as good as the Honda.
Yeah, but what really seals the deal is the brakes.
Yeah.
The Himalayan definitely has the better bite.
Yeah.
Okay. And when you're encountering a panic braking situation, this again feels nervy and jittery, whereas that feels rock solid.
I think that's down to the fork dive on the Honda. The front suspension is very soft, so the moment you go hard on the brakes, there is a lot of fork dive, and that kind of unsettles the motorcycle, and in a panic braking situation, it is very unnerving. But if you modulate the lever, when you're doing say 120, 130 and you go easy on the levers, I think the braking of the Honda is better than the Himalayan when we are progressive on the lever. Only at panic braking, yes, the Himalayan has the edge. But then again, the ABS calibration,
Yeah.
what should
It almost goes into that momentarily single channel ABS mode and then comes back and remembers that, oh, I am actually a dual channel ABS.
Yeah.
Whereas there is none of that shenanigans out here.
Watch me kick that door, they won't let me in. We're running the game now. Foot on the gas, can slow down. No.
What is an issue here is a little bit of the electronics because they are fairly rudimentary.
Yeah,
the traction control, there is no
traction control is very irritating on the Honda.
There's no traction control there. There is traction control here, and it is again no ride-by-wire. So it's using a very old school method of cable operated throttle. So
Yeah,
it's cutting in power very abruptly.
Exactly, it's very abrupt, it's very actually confusing sometimes and also very irritating sometimes. When you want to get off the line and it's like there's no power, it just bogs down, which is not the case with the Himalayan. I think sometimes less electronics is good electronics, but it does have ride modes on the Himalayan. Again, how much useful it is,
Okay, you've lived with the bike quite a lot.
never used
How,
it.
yeah, I was going to ask you.
Never
Have you
used it.
even switched it?
But I think it's like they say it's for like more economy and this and that, but I think, do you really buy a Himalayan for economy or something? Like maybe in city commute, it has slightly better low end, but then again, it misses out on the grunt. So I think the performance mode is the better mode.
I'll be honest, I did switch it once on the way back to Pune after one of the shoots, but that is when I was very tired and I was exhausted. So I just put it in eco, kept it at 85, 90 and rode it like a 411. Right?
The OG Himalayan. Yes.
But
yes.
overall, even when you look at the screens and the consoles and when you get the feature set, Himalayan just has an edge.
Exactly.
This has a crisper display, a nicer graphics.
Yes.
But Himalayan offers you a more intuitive, a more natural feel.
And also, you can go through the various menus and various settings of the console very easily on the fly. You can go for a dark mode, you can set everything. And main thing on the Himalayan is the Google Maps, which is not the case over there with the Honda.
Yep.
Yes, that Google Maps is not perfect, it drains your battery and everything, but you get that option on a motorcycle for this price point, and that is pretty incredible.
Yeah, and again, there is a proper Type-C USB charger located on the handlebar, whereas this is still set in 2010s, late 2010s, because for this you have to get the 12-volt charging adapter.
But that's an accessory, it doesn't come standard, so you have to pay extra for that, which is standard on the Himalayan. So again, in terms of features, it's offering better value, just not as a motorcycle, but in terms of features also, I think the Himalayan has that edge over the Honda.
Watch the game change. Watch the game change.
And since you brought value,
Let's
let's
come
talk
back.
price.
Again, the pricing of both the motorcycles, yes, the Honda is a CBU, it's coming from Thailand, I think, it is manufactured over here. Yes, it's a twin cylinder, but we still think the pricing could have been slightly more competitive, at least as an introductory price, don't you think?
Yeah, okay, you could say that. Let's first address the Himalayan's pricing. They have become a little bit more expensive.
Royal Enfield was greedy for that color update price hike, which was, I think 16,000 is too much.
Yeah, so they have increased it, and considering that we are still yet to get the tubeless spoke wheel, which will add another 30,000.
30, 40,000 easily.
That the pricing will go up.
Yeah.
Still, at that price, the Himalayan makes a lot of sense to a whole host of buyers who are stepping into this segment.
Exactly. If you want a mid-displacement ADV tourer, I think the Himalayan is a great stepping stone. Also, the fact that because it's a Royal Enfield, dealership network is vast and you can easily get it serviced. It might be cheaper than the Honda. The Honda is known for its service cost when it comes to big bikes. But in this comparison, I think the Royal Enfield will have the edge.
Again, do you think so? Because how many months has the Royal Enfield been on sale?
6
months?
Yeah.
Yeah, and there are no levers at the spare centers. There are no tubes like you mentioned. There are no a few certain spare parts are missing. And this is in a city like Mumbai, which is probably the densest, the most happening city.
Exactly.
Right?
We have seen a lot of Royal Enfield owners complaining about that we haven't got our parts, and that's a bit of a concern. The other thing about the Honda is that even though it's a Honda, so you know it will be reliable. Yes, the dealership network isn't as vast as the Royal Enfield, but you know it will be reliable. It will be bulletproof, and it will give you that sense of calmness and zero anxiety when you're out touring.
So I'm thinking that in case if you're looking to buy a motorcycle for say 10, 12 years and you are going to be happy that you made a big investment and you're not bothered by too much speed or anything, Honda will still make sense. It's not like the case where we had with the Yamaha
MT
and the Duke, where the Yamaha turned out to be just why?
Yeah.
The Honda still serves some purpose.
Exactly. It does look different also because of the new styling. It looks like a big bike. It just stand out. Again, not in this color. We think they got the better color over here. The Honda has a lot of things going for it. That butter smooth engine, good touring ability, reliability, and also the brand power of Honda is there. I mean, yes, Activa is there, but still Honda is known for their big bikes.
Yeah.
So if you want a nice twin cylinder tourer which is different from the sea of Himalayans, the Honda makes sense. Yes, the initial cost is high, but as Jehan mentioned, if you are looking at the longer run, then the price does make sense.
Yeah.
Somehow it will make sense.
But would you buy either of these two motorcycles?
No,
You'll wait for the tubeless fork wheels?
no, I will wait for the 390 Adventure which is coming out next year. I think that motorcycle will be a game changer. We saw that with the 390D.
Yeah.
This year?
Yeah, this year.
Oh, even better then. But yeah, it would be like another 390 Duke moment where it just blows away the competition. I think the 390 Adventure will offer you better off-road capability, better road capability, and it will be a thrilling ride, which is not the case among both these motorcycles.
And that's a good place to leave this video with. Do let us know what you think about these two motorcycles, which ADV you prefer out of the two in the comment section below. Don't forget to like and share this video. What else do they need to do?
Always wear your riding gear and a helmet, and thank you for watching.